Hello, 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 hello. So this week I learned about use imperative handle and ref forwarding to the kids, to the child components. And I must say I'm a bit confused. Let's see if I can explain my confusion in the code. So our problem statements. As you can see on the right, I have a simple web page. This is my child component, which is sitting under a parent component, and the parent component has a button. Now the idea over here is if I click on start chatting, as you can see, that I trigger a functionality in child component that is of loading the image through network. It's an API, but I also set up the focus to the text area within my child component, right? And this is through reference forwarding. It's a standard implementation. The idea over here is that not only by clicking on my button, I am do all these things, but a nice interface is returned to me from the child component to say, hey, okay, I know you are giving me a reference so that you can download the image and set the index, but only these are the properties, only this function is available on that reference for you. So you make use of those functionalities. So the point I'm trying to make is the child component can dictate what properties, what interface there would be on the reference object which is sent by the parent. Let's see that in the code. So what I have over here is a simple React app, nothing major about it. I'm printing a test, and you can see on the right side that is what is showing up. So the first thing I will do is to create a component which is load person, which is over here. Let's use RFCE. Uh, Nothing major over here. In this, we will be setting our text area as well as image. But first, let's go ahead and import this file. And then we can use it over here. All right. The other thing I want on the load, as far as my app.js is concerned, is some text and a button. So let's go ahead. And it's this button, the on click of the button, which will set the whole thing in motion. So let's call it not set focus, but uh, invoke child component functionality. Let's go ahead and we define it here. For the time being, let's keep it simple. We will add some code later on. Voila, voila, voila. Load person from load person. Let's see if everything was okay. And if it was, we should be able to perfect. Let me add some CSS over here. Give me a minute. Oh, I think it's already there. Oh yeah, CSS is, oh, I've already added it. Okay, sorry about that. So let's go ahead and define our load person. The CSS will fix itself. Now, what do we want on load person? Basically two things. The first is I should be able to command it from my app.js to download an image, and then also to set the focus. Two things I need to do. And of course, setting the focus, it's a standard React functionality. In load person, we can use the input reference to set the focus. Let's see that. So to set the reference, what we're going to do is to use a use reference hook. It's a standard functionality. In React, a standard way to do so, to talk to your DOM APIs. Let me do some change over here. I would like to use reference over here, and also I need to, of course, incorporate it. Let's go here, use reference. So now this reference, I can pass it on to my load person. It's a standard React thingy. The only difference we are going to see now with respect to reference is that in the load person function, what we need to do is to say some, not only directly export load person, but to say react dot forward ref, and then our component. What does this guy do? Why do I need this? The reason is if we wrap our component within forward ref, then it gives me a special ability to target my reference as a separate parameter. So this reference would actually be this guy, and indirectly it would be person ref, right? If I don't do React forward ref, then I need to do something jazzy, which is write my custom attribute. For example, it could be person ref, maybe ref for child component, and then I could also have done this, but then I need to refer. I cannot use ref keyword as such. I need to use that one. So it's always beneficial. It's always a best practice that you use ref forwarding so that you get it as a separate parameter. So once I get this parameter, you would say my life is pretty easy. You just use it to render the text area. Just use ref.current.focus on your text area and you're done. Not really true, because remember, there is two functionality we need to do: the focus, and along with that I also need to be able to download that image, command my child component to download that image, right? To handle that, what I would do is to first render my image and text area, of course, like this. So that's my div, so my child component. I have an image URL, which we will calculate in a minute. And if the image URL is there, you show me the image. Let me hide this guy. Uh, and then let's remove this for a while, and you render the text area, right? If the image URL is there. So let's go ahead and set the image URL, which is this. Perfect, perfect. Now, over here, we need to be able to write some logic which will give the app.js the ability to call this functionality, two functionalities, right, of downloading the image as well as setting the focus. To do that, React gives us a special hook which is called useImperativeHandle. Simply put, what it means you give to this function your reference pointer, right? And then the function will give you the ability to define any interface on it. So that, I mean, any function, any property, or anything you would like. So whatever functionality I add here would go as a property slash function on ref attribute, and then it can be accessed from my invoke child component function. So app.js can use that. So to clarify, I can do something like this. So I can say, hey, okay, expose on this ref object something, a function named start chatting to random user. And what should you do? You console.log. You make a fetch API to random user.api. It's a public API, and over here it also sends you the image, the picture URL. And so I read the JSON standard fetch functionality, nothing new. I change my image URL, and then I set my input reference current.focus. Now this input reference is different than the other one because we need to define it here. So let's use it like this. Oops. Like this. This should be none. And now this input reference can be set as a reference to my text area. So this is not the same. Huh? This reference over here is not the same as these. These are two different references. I probably could have used the same reference over here in the text area, just set the ref. But then the point is, I think we should try to avoid it. What if there were if there were more than one element that we had to manipulate with the help of this reference? So I cannot have the same reference attached to two different elements, right? So every element should have its own input reference as our child component, which is load person, has its own reference, which is ref. So we add to this one. Once it is done, now what I can do is to go in my app.js and then say, whenever you call invoke, just use my reference, current, standard thing, and then use that functionality. So this way, the use imperative handle gives us, the developer, an ability to create an interface, to add properties, functions onto our reference, input reference object in our child component so that the parent components can exercise it. And that's what is happening over here. Uh, so if I save it, let's see if anything changed. Nothing new. Let me have a quick look. What is going on wrong? La 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 la. Okay, so I had to save the file. I saved it, and now we have it over here. I click on start chatting, and then you can see the image gets loaded, and I also have text area automatically focused with the help of my input reference focus. One of the good things and amazing things about sharing your knowledge is that uh, your own confusions get cleared. So remember in the initial part, in the introduction, I had mentioned that there was a confusion I had. Well, luckily that confusion has got clarified a bit. My confusion was because I could not anticipate what use imperative, what is the actual use cases. I couldn't logically put it in a context. Why would we need to use imperative handle? Well, to the answer to that, I think, is to expose a bunch of functionality from your child component to your parent component. So imagine a complex component which you have written, maybe a user form component which has a couple of text boxes, some buttons and drop downs, and you need to be able to control their functionality, so that the callers, the parents would be able to, so a parent A should be able to focus on last name, but parent B would like to focus on first name, all those different kind of things. And if that's your scenario, probably use imperative handle is a very good functionality to use, because we are exposing our functionality as an interface, as bunch of functionalities. For example, in this case of form component, I could have exposed two functionality to my ref object, which is focus on last name or focused on first name, and so on and so forth. So I hope this was informative. You liked the video, and if you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Please do leave a comment and share it with your friends. Any appreciation from your side is deeply valued. So till the next time, bye bye.